¿Y me escuchas, Orlando?
Sí.
Ok, ¿se escucha bien?
¿Ya compartes cámara? ¿Estás?
A ver, déjame ver si ya abre. Según yo ya debe de abrir. Perfecto.
Ok.
Sí, nada más la tuve que reiniciar. Ya está. Ok, perfecto.
Okay, so hello and welcome, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. So hello and welcome to this very special name. My name is Orlando Delgado Mata, and I'm the Director of Teacher Training Operations at International House University, now International House University. And I'm accompanied by several friends, from Cambridge Assessment English. Also, I would like to say hi to Claudia Nieto, our friend from Cambridge Assessment English here in Latin America, Oscar Gutierrez as well. Hello, Oscar. How are you? We can see the beautiful sunset in the background, Oscar. So maybe you can tell us more about that in a second. Also, Itzel Rosses from International House University, our examiners director, our examinations director, and also Ricardo Fajardo, who's going to be our special guest today. So, like I said, we're incredibly happy to have you here. People keep joining, so we're just getting started in what's going to be a great day today. We're officially closing two events. One, from our friends from Cambridge Assessment English, the Digital Teacher Series, which has been an incredible success with our friends from Cambridge Assessment English in this new era, I think, of technology, with COVID-19, remember that we are living some really strange times, it seems. It pretty much feels like a David Fincher film, if you ask me. So very, very different, from the previous reality. And our friends from Cambridge Assessment English here are also joining us today to give, closure to that main event, the Digital Teacher Series by Cambridge Assessment English. And also yesterday, we had the launch for our International House University Academic Program 2021. And I'm very happy to have also with friends from Cambridge Assessment English join us here today, also to give closure to that main event as well today. So I'm going to hand it over to Claudia and Oscar, our friends from very important friends from Cambridge Assessment English, so that they can also give you the warm welcome and give you a few words. Thank you. All yours. The floor is yours, Claudia.
Thank you very much, Orlando. I think, yes, it's so important that we are now addressing such important, so relevant and new topics. So really, it's a pleasure for us being here. On behalf of Cambridge Assessment English, Oscar Gutierrez, Customer Services Manager, and myself, we really want to thank International House for being part of this, the Digital Teacher Webinar Series, and as well, of course, to your team for organizing this nice session. Definitely, this has been, as in many other times, a joint effort between both organizations. I think that we definitely are, both of us, committed to support our teachers in this so vital role they have. And obviously, we have no other more words than thank you, and that we are very happy for being here. So, Oscar, thanks also for being here in Orlando, and happy to have and to be part of this special event for today. Thank you for all of you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you, Orlando.
You are muted, Orlando.
Oh, yes.
Well,
it's the old favorite on Zoom, right? It's like a haiku, it's like you're muted, I cannot hear you. So any words that you would like to share, Oscar?
no, really, I really, we all really appreciate this invitation and to be together. I mean, in this effort that both institutions, both organizations have made in order to acknowledge and all, the tremendous work all of the teachers have been doing during these very difficult times and very strange times. Nobody was prepared for facing this, and nobody could have the magic formula for facing this. And it's been teachers who are exactly in the front line of this, who have made this possible. Thank you very much. And this is part of our acknowledgement to all these teachers. And thank you very much for having us here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, totally. Thank you for your very kind words, Oscar, Claudia, and also, the whole of Cambridge Assessment English, who are always, every single step of the way, supporting us and helping us. And more importantly, like you both say, Claudia and Oscar, just making sure that everybody's really aware of all of these different tools that are available by our community, International House, and also International House University organization, Cambridge Assessment English, because I think like you're saying, Oscar, nobody was really expecting this. with the exception of Bill Gates, maybe. So, but like we said yesterday in our webinar yesterday, also for the launch of the International House University Academic webinar, right now, maybe some of you feel like this, like COVID-19, the virus is chasing everybody. And we're trying to escape from it, right? And I'm just going to start, before I formally introduce you to your speaker of the day, I would like just to start this by saying that the Chinese have, I think it goes a long way to show how different cultures think about different ways. And I think this is one clear example that we should follow. The Chinese have two strokes to refer to crisis, to write the word crisis. And I think we all feel like we're living in a crisis, right? But Chinese have two strokes to write this. The first one is this one, which is danger. So to them, crisis means danger, of course, but also it's the second one that I would like to emphasize. The Chinese refer to this as an opportunity. So in the Chinese culture, crisis is a combination of a danger that you need to be aware of, but when you're aware of that and you can fully maximize, capitalize on that potential, it becomes a real opportunity. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what Cambridge, we International House University, Cambridge Assessment English, joining forces, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a real opportunity out of this crisis so that we can take teachers right into the future with this new change of digitalization in the global e-world and the global educational technological era of teaching, right? And it's with great pleasure that I would like to introduce you to Ricardo Fajardo. Ricardo Fajardo is, I'm going to stop sharing so that maybe you could start sharing your screen. And in the meantime, I'm going to introduce you, Ricardo. I would like to introduce you to Ricardo Fajardo, who is going to, I think it was, an incredibly interesting talk. I think he's going to be talking about the roles of instructors online. And Ricardo and I, like, we've been friends for close to, I think, longer than 10 years. And I really like referring to Ricardo as a good friend of mine because of so many things that he's done, that he's achieved. He's one of our core tutors on the staff at the International House University. He's a CELTA trainer, a Delta tutor. If you remember ISIL, he used to be an ISIL tutor as well. He is very actively involved in TKTs, initial teacher training qualifications, teacher development, seminars like this one, for example. He is an IELTS examiner as well, and he's also a CELTA assessor, traveling around the world and assessing other courses or other Cambridge Assessment English courses, moderating their CELTA courses. He pretty much is Cambridge police for CELTA in other places around the world. So we're going to enjoy his talk. Hopefully, I hope that you enjoy his talk as much as we all devoted our time preparing this talk for you guys. And the floor is yours, Ricardo. And remember, guys, if anybody has questions on this interesting topic, just go to the Q&As, and we're going to be checking the chat as well. Okay, so all yours, and have fun. The floor is yours, Ricardo.
Thank you very much, Orlando. Thank you very much for that very nice presentation. So hello, everybody. So I should say maybe good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because at some point, maybe this is going to be broadcast to the world, and I don't know what time people are going to be watching this. So it's actually a good idea to say all the times of the day. So today we have very important topic because, as Orlando was mentioning, I mean, we are in difficult times, and we need to think about our new roles. Yes, the roles of the teacher online. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting topic. So hopefully you're going to enjoy it, everyone. I am going to be interacting with you guys. So don't think that this is only, yes, actually like only me talking. So it will be very important for you to participate. I'm going to be checking, yes, the chat box, and I would like you to interact. So actually there is something you have to do as I do this talk, guys. So I would really appreciate if you do the following, right? So basically, I mean, as you watch this, I would like you to react, yes, to what you read, to what you watch. And very important, I want you to identify, when we are taking a look at the different roles, which areas, which roles, which tasks you perceive as your own strengths, and which areas you perceive as maybe some areas of opportunities, maybe some areas to improve as a teacher, especially in these, yes, difficult and ever-changing moments, right? So I would like you to interact with me, yes, and I would like you to do this. I want you to react. I want you to tell me how you are feeling, what you're thinking as you read, as you hear me. Yes, I would like you to react to this. Okay, so without any further ado, let's start. So, I mean, first of all, I would like you to think about this. I mean, first of all, we need to think about this. Which types of roles can you think about, right? So, because, I mean, in the previous reality, when we were thinking about the teacher's roles, we were thinking of elements like the assessor, friend, the source, etc. So which are the type of roles that you can think about? So if you start interacting with me, so I would like you to use the chat box, yes, the chat room, guys, for me to interact with you. So Isaac actually says leader, yes, a guide, definitely, yes, Denise, we are guides. Yes, Janina says immediately facilitator. That's a big word, and it's actually a word that we're going to use at some point, yes, in the session today. Patricia says assessors. Yes, we need to assess. Yes, Yaritza says a role model. Yeah, we need to be role models all the time. Evaluators, says Patricia. Yes, oh, Maria del Carmen, mentor. That's another big word that we can think about when we are thinking about roles of the teacher. Very good ideas, guys. But now in this new reality, we need to actually accommodate, we need to now think of 4 very important types of roles that we need to enter. This is our new universe. So let's take a look at this. So which are those? So basically we need to think about those that refers to more managerial roles as teachers. Yes, we will see every single kind, but start thinking about these like managerial roles. What do you think about? What comes to your head when you see managerial roles? Second one will be pedagogical roles, like will be one of the most important ones that we have as teachers. Then we have the social, emotional, or socio-emotional roles that we need to have with our students. And another one that maybe we're going to have a lot of problems with, or we are having problems with already, is the technical roles. We were all thrown into this new reality, and oh my God, we need to learn so many things with regards to technology that we didn't know actually had to learn, and we had to learn overnight, right? So let's discuss all of these roles one by one. Yes, but again, as I said, please, I would like you to interact with me as I do this. So let's start with the managerial roles. So these are the 3 most important roles when we think about teachers as managers of every single course that we are responsible for. So obviously we need to manage administrative documents and tasks. When you see these, can you give me examples? What is managing administrative documents and tasks? What is an administrative document in every course? Because, I mean, as a teacher, do I have to worry about this? Yes, of course. I mean, simply having an administrative document is like the list of students. We need to make sure that we have a list because obviously we need to follow our students' attendance. Yes, Elizabeth Bautista says rubrics. Yes, we need to have that. Marisela says, yes, reports, definitely. Yes, Edgar says different filling formats that we need to use now, evaluations, report, yes. So all the administrative side of the course, that's one of the roles that we need to actually take right now. It's very, very important. Some of us may not like it. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I'm more actually, you know, thinking more about the academic side of a course more than the administrative side of the course, but it's an important part as well, because at some point we need to report numbers and quality to maybe parents, maybe we need to report this to our coordinator. So it's an important role that we need to take nowadays. The second important role that we take is like managing strategic interactions. So as teachers, we're also responsible for making sure that the different parts in a course have interaction, have communication. What do I mean by the different parts? Obviously, yes, I need to make sure that my students communicate with other students. I need to make sure that the students communicate with me and the other way around. Yes, we need to make sure that there is very, very good bias of communication and interaction among the different parts of every single course, right? Yes, exactly. So Erica, thank you very much for agreeing with me. Yes, we need to make sure that communication exists. Yes, we are not just the teacher. I should not just worry about the content of my lesson, but I need to worry about communication, establishing, creating effective communication channels between the learners and the teacher. And then the last and very important thing is managing academic documents and tasks. This is slightly different from administrative documents and tasks. How are they different, you think? Because obviously we have some documents that are more academic oriented and some are more administrative oriented. Can you give me examples? Which are maybe some differences between, yes, those Tere Gonzalez says, organizing schedules or activities with other teachers. Oh, thank you very much for that. So which could be an example of an academic document that teachers need to be aware of? Can you give me an example? Silvia says, collaborative tasks. Yes, definitely. Yes. Erica, yes, don't worry, Erica. Yes, I'm going to share my presentation with Orlando, so don't worry, we can have all the information of this presentation later on, so don't worry about it. Yes, most people are writing reports. Yes, this is the most important document that we need to worry about. Yes, in terms of academic documents, we need to report everything. Yes, because again, we need to have both qualitative and quantitative information regarding every single course that we are responsible for. And then when we think about all of these three guys, so which is the most important one? Let's move on and say, like, which should I prioritize? So obviously, sometimes we are thinking much more about the content of my lessons. Obviously, I'm thinking about the units I need to cover, I need to teach, and I'm not thinking about this. But then when I think about my managerial roles, which should I prioritize? Why? Does it depend maybe on maybe the role that I take in the institution? Does it depend on the level, yes, that I'm teaching? Does it depend on the institution itself? Can you give me some idea? So how can we prioritize these three important managerial roles? Which should I maybe worry more about and why? So like when I want to establish my priorities as a manager, how can I prioritize this? What does that depend on? Can you give me some ideas, yes, in the chat box so we can actually comment on those? All of them are important, don't get me wrong, but obviously, maybe depending on where we are working, yes, on who we are in the institution, some of these roles could actually have more weight than others. Yes, Carla says maybe the second one. Yes, oh, okay, that's an important one. Okay, Tere Gonzalez, thank you. It depends on the difference between urgent versus important elements, yes, as a manager. Thank you very much for that, Tere. That's very important because obviously, maybe if my role as a teacher is very, very close to the general manager or the academic coordinator, maybe I'm going to prioritize my administrative role, all the administrative documents and tasks over maybe the academic documents and tasks. If I communicate more with teachers more than the academic coordinator, maybe, yes, I can actually, yes, think about the academic documents more, yes, than the others. Orlando has participated here, so that's right. Origin versus important, not the same thing. Thank you. So Edgar, as I coordinate, I would go for number one, then number three. Yes, exactly. So it depends on the role that we are taking, Edgar. Thank you very much. So obviously, we need to do all of them. We need to worry about all of them, but we can prioritize depending on our roles in our institutions. Thank you very much for that participation, guys. So obviously, these are, yes, only some of the roles that we need to think about. So these are the three most important managerial roles. Let's move on to maybe the most important roles that we can think about as teachers, which is the pedagogical roles or maybe our pedagogical guide or guidance that we need to have. We have plenty of roles. So let's discuss most of them, because actually when I was preparing this presentation, I found like 20 or 30, and then I was checking different sources and I just prioritized the 9 most important, yes, pedagogical roles that we have. Imagine if I had to actually introduce all of them. So basically the most important one that we have is making sure that we have very effective and useful plans, lesson plans. That's a top priority. We need to make sure that our plans are logical, we have appropriate teaching aims, logical activities, etc. So that's priority number 1. We need to plan our lessons effectively. So we need to check, double check, and triple check that our plans are effective, so the delivery of the lessons, yes, is effective as well. A second important role is obviously providing learners, yes, with feedback. And the second part here in number 2 is like at the right time. But then I was wondering, when is the right time to provide learners with feedback? Can you give me examples? So like, when should I provide my learners with feedback? Because that's another very important role, yes, that I have with my learners, especially now online, because they are not near me. So I need to provide even more feedback. But when is the right time, you think? I mean, is there a specific moment where I need to do it? Yeah, so give me some examples here. So some people think that maybe I need to do it immediately after a task. Maybe that can be one of the answers, or maybe at the very end of the course. So when is the right time for me to provide feedback, you think? So Sonia Villaseñor says, as they finish the activity on the same day. Yeah, that's good. Maybe this is very informal feedback, Sonia, and obviously they need to know how they are performing an activity at that very moment. Yes. And Valerie says all the time. Yes, definitely all the time. Yes, it's important. Yes, but maybe some activities could be more important than others. It depends on what the objectives of the lessons are. So obviously, again, we can prioritize some activities over others, and then we can provide feedback, yeah, kind of more feedback on some of the activities more than on others. Yes, so that's very important. Okay, all the class should be good. Yes, definitely, Erica, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. So basically, feedback is very important. I would say that feedback needs to be provided after most relevant tasks. Again, and which are most relevant, it depends on the objectives of the lesson, and that's why number 1 is very important. Based on my objectives, based on the lesson aims, I will as well prioritize feedback depending on the main tasks of the lessons. Yes, my third responsibility is to formulate questions to encourage critical thinking. This is now more important than ever. We need to involve learners, and we need to make sure that they are thinking about what they are doing, yes, and allow them to actually discover things even more. Now, in an online environment, we can actually provide them with more tasks, kind of interactive tasks, for them to start thinking about this. I think that at the end of every lesson, we can even send them questions like, how did you feel today? Do you think that this exercise will be useful in your everyday life? How can you use it? So we need to formulate questions at every moment, especially at the end of every task, to encourage critical thinking. This is very, very important, right? So that's something really, really relevant, yes, to do as teachers nowadays. So please encourage critical thinking. Let's move on. So we have plenty of here. So another important role that we need to do, and now again online, this is even more important, is to provide effective scaffolding materials or tasks. And maybe for those that do not remember the concept of scaffolding, remember that we need to build, yes, learning and language abilities. So we need to provide models, we need to provide examples of the tasks that I'm asking my students to do. Sometimes it's not that they can do tasks, but they need just an example of how to do it effectively and what is exactly that I'm expecting from my learners. Sometimes an example is even clearer than a number of instructions. Sometimes we might actually get lost in the middle of so many words in instructions. So modeling, yes, and providing a scaffolding is even more effective, yes, than some instructions, yes, and even ICQs, right? Another important thing nowadays is to systematically summarize key content. We are now prioritizing, yes, content online, yes, because I don't know if you have noticed this, if you have discovered this, but it's a little bit trickier to cover the same amount of content online. So nowadays we need to make sure that maybe we squeeze content, we maybe reduce it a little bit, but we also need to make sure that we summarize, yes, key content. So we need to make sure that we provide students with opportunities to recycle and summarize content, yes, from the tasks that they do. This is very important because they need to see information constantly. So this is very, very important, guys. And then number 6 is quite important. It was already relevant when we were on a face-to-face environment, but this is now more relevant. We need to avoid overcorrection. Yes, feelings are very important nowadays. I mean, we are all experiencing difficulties with technology, with trying to understand and follow the lessons online. And then obviously we need to reduce, yes, how much we are correcting learners, right? So obviously, yes, it's very important actually not to do that, because obviously people might feel kind of rather demotivated, yes, working online if we overcorrect. Don't get me wrong, of course it's our responsibility to correct, to provide error correction, as it's part of a scaffolding and learning itself, but try not to do it too much. Maybe prioritize a little bit of accuracy when a task is more accuracy oriented. Yes, maybe you can correct, but if it's fluency oriented, try not to get too involved in error correction. Allow students to actually express themselves. Yes, don't be, yes, so harsh on them. Yes, so and it also depends on the level. I mean, the lower the level, maybe the less you need to or you want to, yes, correct your learners. Allow them to feel free to a certain extent. And we have more roles, guys. So obviously we also need to promote learners' self-confidence. Nowadays, again, people feel a little bit less confident online because of a number of reasons. Number one, and maybe you can actually see my background here, is like sometimes like they are simply worried about where they are. Oh no, the world is going to discover that I'm actually taking my class from the living room, from the kitchen, from wherever I can have access to internet. And then they are worried about that, and then actually their levels of self-confidence decrease. That can be one factor where they are taking classes. Some people actually go to different maybe internet cafes to actually, have the option to do so. That, yes, reduces their self-confidence. Another important thing is like how they use, yes, online tools. They might actually, yes, reduce their confidence because they are not experts in online use, the use, sorry, of, yes, online tools, but neither are we. So obviously we need to promote this self-confidence by allowing them to express themselves. I think it's very important, like every day, every single class, to simply ask a question like, how are you feeling? Are you having problems? Is everything okay at home? So if they express themselves, they are venting their feelings, they are venting their emotions, and I'm sure that actually this will reduce, yes, anxiety levels, and they will feel readier to learn, are more eager to participate, right? Another important role is actually to do simple but important time management activities with learners. What do I mean with this? Like, obviously, we need to organize our time because online teaching and learning, I think that we are all discovering this, is taking more than actually the time that we used to invest when we were in the face-to-face reality. Some teachers are saying things like, hey, I feel that I'm just working twice as much. Hey, what's going on? So how can I organize my time? Yaritza says like, exactly. Yes, so what can we do to help our learners organize their time? Can you give me some tips? Which kind of activities can I do to help my learners and to help myself as a teacher to organize time effectively? Can you give me some ideas? Yes. Oh, Jose, in the meantime, I'm reading just some ideas here. Jose Ernesto says, every lesson has to go from control activities that builds confidence, where they are corrected immediately, to freer or less control activities. I definitely, yes, concur with this, Jose Ernesto. And the last part that you mentioned is really, really important. Yes, I mean, we need to correct maybe in an anonymous fashions, like, oh, I heard this mistake, but obviously I don't mention who actually made a mistake. So it doesn't really matter, yes, who made a mistake. It's just general correction. Okay, so coming back to this time control activities, what can I do to help my learners, yes, control time and have a better, yes, control of the time? So for example, something that I tell my students to do is to create a calendar. As simple as that. So obviously, if they have a number of pieces of homework to do, so they need to write that down. It's very easy now to forget, yes? So it's like if they create a calendar in their mobile phones, in their computer, yes, I think that it will be very important for them to control time more effectively. Yes, to maybe create a note, yes, in their mobile phones will be very important. Reminders, yes, I think that the mobile phone is like something that the majority of our students, I cannot generalize, but the majority of our students have access to. So basically, yes, I think that they can have reminders, even alarms, like, oh, my telephone is telling me that I just have 2 days to finish this piece of homework, so that will be very important. Let me read some ideas that you have here. Irma Canales says, use agendas. Yes, that's an excellent idea, Irma. Perla Alejandra says, but also students learn to organize one class. They can do it for other classes. Yes, they can actually transfer some of these skills to other, yes, activities that they do. Obviously, we can always transfer these abilities to other, yes, kind of activities or, yes, tasks we have. Yes, okay, Jaritza, thank you. So obviously we need to use calendars, right? And let's take a look at the last point. I think that this is quite important. And I saw this being repeated in many websites that explain all these core roles that we need to take. Encouraging less confident learners to send work more privately. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, sometimes, I mean, nowadays, especially online, people are submitting their piece of homework, yes, on platforms. And some of these platforms, I'm not saying all of them, but some of these platforms might be public. What do I mean by that? Basically, everybody has access to read what other people actually produce. If that's the case, maybe you need to actually create other channels of communication for maybe less confident learners to develop and send and produce their work a little bit more privately. Again, we need to save their faces. We need to make sure that we encourage them to participate and work more. So why not giving them a chance to maybe send us a draft before they actually produce the final piece of homework? They need more support. So why not actually having a more private chat room, yes, or another area where they can actually send this and where we can actually react to, yes, and provide some more guidance. Again, we need actually to consider providing, yes, learners with more opportunities actually to develop their work, yes. Coming back to your comments, guy, Josue says, we need to give students wise deadlines. I really like the word here, Josue, wise deadlines. I think this is important. I mean, more than wise, I think that it needs to be realistic deadlines. I think that in the past, maybe they were able to do a piece of homework in maybe 2 days, 3 days. And now maybe they need a week because they need to do more research. They need to maybe learn to use an online tool before they submit the piece of homework. So I really like this idea of providing learners with wise, yes, or realistic, you know, deadlines. I think that this is very important. And maybe the deadline is something that you can negotiate with your learners. I don't know, it depends on what the rules of every school, you know, are, but I mean, sometimes you can actually interact with the students and allow them to decide when the deadlines are, right? Jose Ernesto says that's another way to scaffold students, to have them send you a draft. Yes, I concur, Jose. Basically, I mean, maybe we don't always have the possibility or the time, to be honest, to ask students for, you know, drafts. But if we do, why not actually exploiting, you know, drafting work and everything, right? So that's really, really important. Okay, let's move on. So these are the 9 most important roles. As I say, I found too many, but I wanted to prioritize. Yes, so let's take a look at all of them in the following fashion, in the following form, guys. And so when you see all of these, when you see these very important roles as a pedagogical guide, so you think, if you had to maybe choose which are your strengths and which are your areas of opportunity? I would like you to, in the chat box, just mention maybe, oh, these are my 2 strengths. I already, support my learners. So supporting is one of my strengths, but, I need to maybe improve my assessing role because I don't think I'm actually providing my learners with sufficient, assessing, with sufficient information in terms of how they are doing in relation to the different tasks that they have to do. So I would like to see some of your reactions. So think about, obviously, the level that you're teaching, maybe how many classes you have in a day or in a period. So which could be your strengths and which you think is 1 or 2 of your areas of opportunity and why? This is very important. Why do you think that's an area of opportunity? Let me take a look at your comments. So like Luis Castaneda says, like, all are my strengths. That's great, Luis. So that's important. I think it's important actually to work on all of them. Yes, but maybe, I mean, at least 1 or 2 could be still areas that we need to strengthen maybe, right? So Perla says motivating and confidence building. Areas of opportunity, definitely feedback. Maybe you need to provide more feedback or more effective and clear feedback. It's not that maybe you are not providing feedback, but we need to make sure that feedback is actually clear and effective. Yaritza says, my weakness is assessing. Yes, it's not easy to evaluate. Sometimes we simply forget to evaluate. We say, okay, that's the end of the activity. Thank you, guys. And maybe we forget that that's an important role nowadays. Yes, Yvonne says, scaffolding is definitely my opportunity area. Yes, we need to scaffold. We always need to help students do tasks more effectively by scaffolding, by exemplifying, yes, by providing some guidance, yes, some tools, definitely, yes. Irma says, definitely motivating and supporting, definitely. Denise says, my weakness is assessing and sometimes feedback. I think that they work hand with hand. I think that when we are evaluating, we need to react depending on this evaluation or assessment, and we need to provide feedback as a result. So I think that both work together to a certain extent. All righty, so well done. Thank you very much, guys. So again, this is an opportunity for you to start thinking about all of these, guys, like which are already my strengths and which are areas that definitely I need to work on as of today, yes? And especially in an online environment, there is not tomorrow. Actually, there is today, and we need to start thinking about how to improve our abilities, yes, in relation to all of these roles. Okay, let's move on. So we have actually covered 2 different kinds of roles. So let's move on to the third one. Yes, so which is, this is now a very important, yes, role and area that we need to consider, the socio-emotional empathizer. So which are the socio-emotional roles that I need to take now more than ever, yes, when teaching online? So the number 1 rule, I would say, guys, is to building an online climate or environment that is conducive to learning. I think that no student feels confidence or anyone actually to study or do anything if they do not feel, yes, fine. You need to, the first thing is to create a very nice environment. So my suggestion is, when you start teaching online, the very first maybe class online, don't think about the content. Don't start teaching the content immediately. Maybe your first lesson should actually focus, yes, on building rapport with the learners, so they actually kind of develop a sense of community, yes, in the lesson. They need to introduce themselves. They need to talk about their likes. They need to talk about their fears. Why not online? So, but that will create, yes, the confidence that they need to actually to have from the very beginning of every course. So that's our top priority, to empathize, yes, with what they feel and how they feel. So make sure that you create, yes, an online climate or environment that is conducive to learner. Yes, Denise says, we need to actually provide icebreakers. Yes. And Erika says, especially when working with young kids, yes, of course, obviously their feelings and emotions, yes, are definitely more important. Adults can handle emotions in a different way, but if we actually work with young learners, this is definitely very important. Yes, and it's something that I think parents are going to be checking, right? Because they need to make sure, obviously, yes, that actually they are learning and they feel confident. Then obviously connected with this, in number 2, is to develop a motivating tone. You need to set some rules, guys. You need to maybe always, yes, talk or address your students in an inviting tone, in a respectful tone, yes, because our voice projects so many emotions. So we need to make sure that the tone of our voice, the tone of the lesson is always inviting and respectful. Again, especially with young learners, as was suggested in the comments, guys. So this goes together with number one. And again, in the first lesson, you need to set a very warm welcome. Yes. So like the very first lesson, remember, is to make people feel confident, feel welcome, yes, in the lesson. So you need to make sure that you set the right tone from the very beginning. Welcome your students, create icebreakers, yes, have yes, opportunities for them to feel nice, to feel relaxed. Yes, they should not feel stressed or overstressed in lesson one, yes, of every course. Is like, hey, am I going to feel this anxious every single lesson? Oh my God. So definitely, I don't want to be in this lesson anymore. So the very first lessons, I would say that maybe the first and the second lesson are very important for us to create these three elements, yes? The online environment that we actually need, right? Yes, Luis Castana says, awesome information. Thank you very much, Luis. I mean, that's the idea. I mean, you know what they say, sharing is caring. And that's what we are doing here, guys. We are actually sharing this information with you because we would like to work together on this. We would like to actually, you know, shake hands with you and say, we are not alone. And this is what we need to do together to make sure that we guarantee better learning, yes, opportunities, yes, to our students. Let's move on, and we have some more, yes, socio-emotional roles that we need to take. So let's move on, and we have obviously creating opportunities for socializing and on venting. Again, don't just think about the content of the lesson. It's like, oh, today I have to talk about present continuous or the third conditional, or I want my students to learn 20 colors today. Yeah, that's important. But I would say that at some point, maybe at the beginning, maybe in the midpoint of the lesson, or maybe at the end of the lesson, we need to make sure that they have opportunities for socializing. Yes, we don't have this, you know, face-to-face physical opportunity to interact. So we need to recreate, yes, opportunities for socializing. So maybe your leadings, your first activity can always focus on socializing and interaction. Yes, for example, those that are using Zoom maybe are familiar with breakout rooms. What I do in my new lessons, like every single first activity is a breakout room activity where students are talking to each other, interacting. So immediately they are thrown into this social environment. And also breakout rooms provide them with some privacy. Yes, they can actually vent, they can talk about this. And this is something important, guys. Normally when we create breakout rooms, we go and supervise and monitor. Maybe there could be some opportunities where this is not that relevant. When it's an opportunity for socializing and only that, don't go and monitor. Give them just 3 minutes or 4 minutes to say how they feel without the teacher breathing behind their neck. So they actually feel more confident and they feel more relaxed actually to even vent a little bit. And then they will be ready. Their anxiety levels will decrease and they will be ready for learning with you. So this is just, yes, an opportunity for you to consider this. Number 5 depends on the level, but sometimes it's even valid to allow the use of L1, L2, a mix. Maybe you can actually establish the percentages of L1 and L2 in the classroom as appropriate. Obviously, this is very important. I'm not suggesting that you are actually allowing the use of L1, yes, I don't know, from maybe B1, yes, up, but maybe you have A1, A2 levels. Maybe you can actually decide on maybe 40% of Spanish and 60% of English. So they don't feel, yes, so forced actually to using L2 all the time, right? So they don't feel all the pressure. Yes, and again, it's something to agree or disagree with. Again, it depends on your context, definitely. Yes, I mean, but that's just an idea over there. And I think it's an important one to consider, right? And basically, I mean, number 6 is equally important. So it's to encourage both online and offline communication and collaboration. Our interaction with students should not just be online, because sometimes we say, well, you know what, my lesson is only 2 hours a day. Yes, so it's like those are the only 2 hours that I'm going to worry about my students. I'm sorry, but that's not enough. Actually, we need to have communication offline. So nowadays, I think that obviously we have our private moments. We can enjoy family and other activities. Yes, not just educational activities. But obviously, if I don't know, see maybe a message from one of my learners via WhatsApp, yes, I mean, it's okay actually to maybe take 5 seconds and reply to this, because this is something that is going to encourage them to participate, yes, in the lesson next day. So it's like, it's actually a good idea. You can actually create, yes, a WhatsApp group that is only, yes, kind of a student or education related, not your personal one. If possible, I'm not suggesting you must do this, guys, but if possible, why not using social actually media to create these opportunities for communication and collaboration? Or you can also suggest your students to create their own WhatsApp groups so they can actually exchange information with regards maybe tasks or pieces of homework that they need to actually do together. So this could be some teamwork actually that they can produce. Yes, then it says, I do use those WhatsApp groups with kids and also with parents. That's great. And it's, I think it's very important that, I mean, you are actually allowing parents to interact with this. So that's good, because they actually are informed, yes, regarding what their kids are doing. So I think this is important. Josue says, I believe number 6 is the key for all the previous if the purpose is to make them feel confident. Yeah, again, we might not like WhatsApp or other social media opportunities, but nowadays, I would say, maybe I dare say, that it's not just a matter of liking, it's a matter of accepting and being open, yes, to new actually tools, because that's what we need to do. We need to open to new opportunities, to maybe feel closer, yes, to our learners and maybe to parents, definitely. Then it says it's a very important, this type of communication. Yes, definitely. So as you can see, these social emotional roles are very, very important. Feelings are super important. And I don't know, maybe even some people say that these social emotional rules sometimes are more important. I don't know if you agree or disagree. This is food for thought, guys. Are even more important than the previous one. Sometimes we worry about the teaching and my lesson plan, but I don't worry about maybe my students' feelings and emotions. And so maybe the previous ones do not work if these are not considered. Do you agree with that? Do you think that definitely I need to be a very good empathizer if I want my role as the normal teacher to work and to be effective? I don't know. This is food for thought, definitely. Yes, Erika says, now more than ever, it's very important to communicate with parents. Definitely, I concur with you. Luis Casas, I totally agree. Yes, definitely. So yes, I think that nowadays, I mean, obviously, as we do not have this social interaction face-to-face, you know, physical interaction, I think that these social, emotional, empathizing roles are super important. And if we don't have them, we need to actually develop them. So that's exactly what the whole point, yes, is about. So we need to identify, again, keep thinking about this for your own strengths and weaknesses. Like, which of these am I already strong at? Which of these am I maybe rather weak at? And start developing this. Yes, don't close to new opportunities, yes, and new ways of doing things, guys. So again, we have all of these roles that connect with being, yes, an empathizer. Yes, so it's like all of these are important. And again, I will give you 1 or 2 minutes. And again, I would like to see this in the chat box. Maybe which of these, maybe which 1 or 2 are your strengths, and which one is still maybe an area of opportunity, yes, for you. I would like you to maybe tell me about this, because maybe you're a very good bonder. Yes, you create relationships, you know, with your students very, very easily, but at the same time, maybe you need to improve, yes, the way that you maybe monitor, yes, how effective the environment is. Maybe you don't monitor this very often. Maybe you think that creating a good climate is only at the beginning of the course, and then you forget this role later on. And I think that maybe once a week you need to do activities to make sure that the climate of the lesson is still there, because we need to maintain something. Sometimes maintaining something could be a little bit harder than creating it, yes, at the beginning. So it's like to keep track, yes, on how motivated the students are is sometimes difficult, because again, we're thinking maybe too much about, yes, my academic roles, and maybe I just put this aside. It's like, well, I created a very nice environment in lesson number 1, so why bother and check this later on? So I think that those are important. So I would like to see this in the chat. So which do you think are your main strengths, and which one maybe you want to, yes, reinforce and you want to strengthen? Definitely. Carla says, I totally agree, but there should be a balance. Yes, I concur with that, Carla. Obviously, we need to try to have a balance. And maybe, again, it depends on your role in an institution that you will prioritize maybe some of these, yes, socio-emotional roles, definitely. Yes, Luis Castaneda again, all are my strengths, excellent. I love to practice mindfulness. Oh, that's a key word nowadays, definitely. So like, definitely mindfulness is the word, yes, in this online, yes, teaching opportunities and universe that we are now going through, guys. Yes, Ayesa says, I must work on maintainer, being a maintainer. Definitely, that's an important thing. Yes, okay, excellent, guys. So we actually have covered 3 different types of roles. Yes, but now let's talk about the one that most people, most teachers are super worried about, I think. Yes, and it's the technician. So like the technical element is like, oh, technology, tools, oh my God. So like I was a super teacher until they told me that I have to actually learn to do this and learn to use this new app or this new website. So like, come on, like I thought that I was actually a good teacher until they told me that I have to do this. So our 3 most important roles as the technician nowadays is to learn about what some tools can do. But I would like to emphasize this word, I'm sorry, like before the course begins. We need to make sure that we devote maybe some days or weeks, if possible, because sometimes obviously they send us information about starting a lesson, like maybe 1 week prior to starting, and maybe that's not enough time. But even if we have a week, guys, I think that we can go and check all the existing maybe inductions and maybe YouTube, you know, like videos on maybe how to use this, how to use that. Because obviously, yes, we need to try to understand at least the basic elements, tools, utilities, options, areas of every single tools that we are using. Yes, it's like, are we kind of expecting teachers to be experts? Not really, but we need to make sure that the basics are there, because we need to guide our students. So we need to actually, I don't know, provide ourselves with that knowledge, the basic knowledge with regards technological tools. I think that that's very important, right? And Ayesa says, and practice with others. Yes, definitely, we need to. So top priority, guys, make sure that you get familiar with the tools that you need to use. Some people are using Zoom, some people are using Google Meets. So whatever option you are utilizing, guys, just make sure that you are fairly familiar with this, fairly proficient with this. And then number 2, understanding and managing some online tools. So this is also important. I mean, one can be the main tool. For example, Zoom is the main tool, but you can actually, you know, like make this even stronger by using maybe Google Slides, or maybe using, you know, Google Forms documents, or many other tools that you have there. So you need to complement or supplement, if you will. I mean, both words can actually apply in here. You need to make sure that we have other tools that are going to be part, yes, of the already tool that you are using. So Zoom plus this, or Google Meets plus this. So I think that will be a perfect match. And number 3 depends again on how much you have to do with learners, maybe the level, maybe the kind of tasks that you have to do with them. So, but you need to gradually learn to use other tools effectively. So again, don't close yourself to the opportunity, guys, to learn. If anything, and Orlando mentioned this at the beginning of the session, yes, I mean, crisis is danger, but it's also an opportunity. So we have, yes, the great opportunity to learn something new. And let me tell you about my own experience. Like when they informed us about this, like now you have to be a teacher online, I just panicked. And I said, like, hey, but nobody has told me to do this. And it's incredible, guys, everything we can learn in a month. because we had like a month, and maybe you say like, well, you had a lot of time, Ricardo, lucky you. Yes, we had like a month to actually learn so many new things that I felt like really lost about before. And now I can tell you, let me tell you about this. I mean, again, I'm just sharing my experience. Now I love it. And I actually discovered that I'm more capable than what I thought. And it's like, was it difficult? Yes, it was. Did I learn overnight? No, I didn't. But now I feel more confident. And now I feel definitely that I can transmit knowledge more effectively, yes, through some online tools. And this is something important. Nitzia, we have Nitzia Virisela. I feel overwhelmed with so many apps and tools. Yes, I should learn to use, yes, or become familiarized with this. Yes, Nitzia, we have so many options, but I mean, one by one. So take it easy, one by one, step by step. But what you cannot do is to do nothing. So you definitely need to have, or to be proactive and try to learn, you know, how to use new tools. Yes, as fast as possible, definitely. Yes, so good. I mean, we have different areas here. So, and then again, the question remains. So once again, which should I prioritize? Why? Which are my own needs? So which of these do you need to prioritize? Obviously, I would say number one is top priority, but then 2 and 3, which should I prioritize? So is maybe understanding one tool more than enough? Maybe that's it, because maybe I'm just teaching one level, so they are not expecting me, maybe the school I'm working for, they are not expecting me to learn any other, I don't have to do it. Maybe that's enough for you. I don't know. It depends on our context, and it depends on who the audience is. So it depends on those. So it depends on what you are actually doing. Luis Canales says number 3. Yes, definitely number 3 is a top priority, to gradually learn to use other tools online. Yes. So Maricela says, I enjoy this way of teaching now. Yes, I enjoy it too. And actually, again, I learned to develop rapport nowadays, because I remember the very first 2 or 3 lessons online that I actually gave. I felt like I was not connecting with learners. So I have to discover that I still have to smile. I have to use, yes, gestures and everything, because I thought that actually teaching online was a serious thing. No, it's like we need to actually make sure that the students feel that it's still kind of, we need to humanize the lessons, and we need to make them feel that actually they are not talking, yes, to screen, they are talking to a human entity, yes, who has feelings and can express emotions and everything. I can give maybe or use a joke in the middle of the lesson. So this is part of using these online tools and these online environments, definitely. So yes, we need to start prioritizing all of this. Okay, guys, so now, considering the previous given roles, actually one of the important keywords that I was expecting you to use from the very beginning is to be a facilitator. In the past, back in the day, as they say, back in the previous reality, we say like the best role and the most important role of every teacher is to be a facilitator, because a facilitator involves so many things. So if I want to be a facilitator nowadays in this new reality, which of the previous roles would be the most important, you think? So I would like to see some ideas. So which of those belong to a facilitator nowadays? Yes, I would like to see some of your comments here. Like, I want to be an online facilitator. What does that mean? What of the previous roles, which of the previous roles do I need to prioritize? Do I need to maybe take one in each of the types? Yes, should I take them all? Is that even possible? What does that depend on? So which do you think belong to being, yes, a facilitator nowadays? I would like to see some of your comments, yes, in the chat box. In the meantime, I will read some of your previous, yes, comments. Catalina says, the emergency, definitely this emergency made us develop digital skills that we didn't know we had. Maybe we did not have them, Catalina, but now we do. It's like, we didn't know that we could actually develop, yes, these abilities. And we have discovered that, oh, our ability to learn is superb. It's limitless. Actually, the limit, as they say, the limit is sky, because, I mean, you can actually learn more and more and more tools depending on what you're going to do with your students and the levels and everything, right? So coming back to this, so if I want to be a facilitator online, what roles are the most important nowadays? So we have seen, yes, different ones. Yeah, so which are the most important roles that I need to take or incorporate to be an online facilitator? Can you give me some ideas? So let me go to your comments here. Let me see if there are new ideas in here. No ideas as yet. Don't worry. Maybe that's because you're actually thinking about this. All of them are important. Yes. Basically, I think it's very difficult. Yes, it is very, very difficult to prioritize. Yes, roles in here because all of them are maybe equally important. Yes, Jaritza says the ability to connect people or with people from very far. Yes, building a bond. Yes, Valerie says now I love them. Yes, we should actually. I think we should appreciate the opportunity. Yes, to learn new tools and to learn how to actually exploit this. So all of these are relevant. Yes, Sylvia says, oh, I love this comment from Sylvia. So definitely we need to be a good listener in order for maybe us to be good facilitators. Yes, if I don't listen to my students' needs, maybe I cannot react to that and I cannot provide, yes, with their needs. That's an important thing here. Nelson says, I think that technical and emotional, yes, tools are a bit more important due to the present circumstances. Yeah, I think that we could prioritize those. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this will be more important than producing my report. And in the end, I just need to produce maybe an end of the course report. So maybe obviously I need to consider more kind of the emotional roles more than the managerial roles that we definitely need to worry about. Rosalie Reyes says, for kids in this situation, the most important things, socio-emotional. I concur definitely, yes. We need to provide with opportunities to bond, yes, to create rapport with kids because that's what they need. Kids needs a lot of, feelings, yes, support. So I agree with that. So again, this is an invitation for you guys to think about this, like, which should I prioritize? Why? And obviously the last question is equally important. What might that depend on? I would say that it depends on your role in the different institutions that you work for or you work at. So we have different roles. So maybe we're closer to the head, yes, of our departments, or maybe we're closer to maybe the academic roles here. So it depends on which role we are taking in our institutions. Maybe we could or we should prioritize some of these roles more than others, definitely. So, but all of them, yes, I think are equally important. So as you can see, we have so many roles to consider. So I would say that little by little, I mean, obviously you need to start thinking on how to develop this. So, but how can I improve all of this? So again, if I want to improve my socio-emotional roles, if I want to improve my technical roles, what can I do? So that's a very direct question. Yes, everyone. So can you give me ideas? How can I improve any areas, any types, yes, of roles in here? Can you give me ideas? For example, if I want to improve my socio-emotional roles, maybe I can watch videos, yes, TED Talks on maybe how to socialize, yes, better with my students. Maybe I need to talk to my fellow coordinator and fellow teachers and maybe ask them for ideas with regards how they are approaching, yes, their students, because I see that they are always motivated, yes, in their lessons. So that could be a very easy way to actually improve my socio-emotional. So again, creating these bonds among teachers will be very important, definitely. Yes, so how can we improve? Can you give me ideas in the chat box? I will be reading them and reacting, yes, to all of them, guys. So Ajessa says, inquiring about topics I need. Yes, YouTube tutorials are, yes, infinite. Yes, definitely. Alejandra, and it's like tutorials, and more tutorials. And again, when we say tutorials, obviously the keyword here is tutor. We need to ask people who know more. This being maybe my friend, this being maybe even my parents, because my parents are experts in socializing, so I want to learn from them. Yes, definitely, maybe from, yes, webinars like this one. So obviously we need to get more information, right? Valerie says, I'm so maternal with my students. Yes, we need to be, actually. Alejandra says, blogs. Yes, I think that we need to consult, yes, more online tools more than ever. I think that in the past, before this online reality, guys, I think that I used to maybe watch a tutorial once every like 2 or 3 months. Now I'm watching tutorial at least once a week because I want to improve the use of my breaker rooms. And then I want to improve the use of my Google Forms and how to incorporate videos here and how to incorporate, insert audios here and there. So like, oh my God, I'm discovering a whole new universe. So this is very important, right? Yvonne Rivas says, socio-emotional in teachers and learners can be developed, yes, by art therapy. Oh, that's interesting. Creative writing, drawing, role play, storytelling. Yes. Tere Gonzalez, I like this. Plan for the worst. Yeah, definitely. Yes, because technology is technology. So obviously when we need it the most, maybe it's not working at its best. So obviously we need to have a backup plan, a plan B for everything. So this is a very important element to consider, Tere. So thank you very much, right? So as you can see, guys, these are all important rules that we need to consider. Yes, obviously these are not all the roles that we have, because as I said, when I was preparing this presentation for you guys, I found so many. But what I wanted to do is to prioritize, because I think it's very important. In teaching, one of my favorite teaching rules or kind of, ways of conducting my teaching is less is more. If I prioritize maybe my roles, if I focus on fewer roles, but maybe I maximize, yes, the way I control them, maybe I can be more effective than thinking about 50 roles and not even achieving half of them. So sometimes it's important just to prioritize. Maybe like as an individual, I think that I can focus on 10 out of the different types. Maybe I can focus on 10, and with those 10 I will become a better teacher rather than focus on 50 and just develop all of them so superficially. But that's me. Obviously this is just my idea. I think that it's important to prioritize. Less is more, and that's very important to say. So I just hope that this this mini talk was useful for all of you guys. I would like the very final activity for you to actually write in the chat box is, which was the most important role for you today? If you had to choose one that you need to focus on, which would that be? And think about your present context and tell me, I think that I need to use the technical roles more because I am zero technologically oriented, so that's my top priority. If you had to choose your top priority role, which would that be and why? I would like to actually read from you guys. So which is your top priority, right? Which would you maybe would like to improve immediately, right? And also, guys, I mean, as we are approaching the end of this short talk, please prepare your questions. Hopefully, yes, I will be able to answer all of them or most of them. So definitely say that definitely socio-emotional. Some people are saying socio-emotional is my area to improve. Yes. Oh, okay. So socio-emotional role is actually the most, yes, selected role nowadays. Socio-emotional from, yes, Rosalie as well. Yes, Elva. So I would definitely go for socio-emotional. Oh my God. So yeah, so welcome to the new socio-emotional era, guys. So definitely we need to prioritize that. Okay, we have a different one. So we have the, yes, actually the technical part is important for some people. From Fernanda says, technical is my area to improve. There is a lot of things to learn nowadays, definitely. Yes, so thank you very much for your participation. Yes, I think that was just enough time because we need to have some time for questions and answers. And Orlando is now giving me the look like, yeah, stop, Ricardo. I think that was too much information.
That's okay.
Yes, for the teachers now, but that's okay. Obviously, I'm kidding, guys. So thank you very much for your kind attention, guys. So let's move on. I will stop just sharing here. So maybe we go to the question and answer section. So Orlando, I pass it on to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ricardo. And I'm gonna give you, a usual thing that we do in every session, right? Because it's always nice, I think, to summarize what we got from the session. So if you could go to that link, I'm gonna put it here in the chat box, everyone. I'm putting the link to a Mentimeter, great tool, by the way, guys. If you haven't used it in your classes, by all means, steal it from us as an idea that you could try, because it's super interactive. Go to the chat box and let's see what people are saying about ideas and tips and suggestions they got from the talk today, right? So let's see what people are coming up with. So again, you can just go to the chat and you could see, there we go, like people are coming up with all of these ideas, right? So this is the most complex. Yeah, keep adding. Sorry, I need to, oh, sorry, I need a different link for presenting. Sorry about that. So I'm going to present it. There we go. And let's see all of the different ideas that people are coming up with. Oh, let's see, a bit of a mystery. So people are talking about, yes, social emotional being the most important, the complex one. Some people said that what they got was a strategies to be more understanding, like really understanding learners. I think that was one of the main things that people got from session. I love this one. This session really made you think about, oh, what sorry, because it's interactive, so it just keeps going, to understand themselves. Amazing. This one says strengths and weaknesses, uh, developing technical knowledge. Awesome. And students should feel comfortable in the classes, right? So it's always that we always like doing, just to make sure that you are getting something out of these sessions that we're running because of you and for you guys, right? So thank you very much, Ricardo. I'm just going to share 2 questions that maybe if you could answer, because I saw 2 questions in the chat that I collected. The first one referred to Sylvia. Sylvia was asking, let me just go to the chat box, because Sylvia was asking something about mindfulness and whether it was a good idea. I'm just trying to find it, right? Sylvia was asking if there's a good idea of what you think might be some good ideas to introduce the concept of mindfulness at the start of the class, or whether it should be a good idea to start with that as a class, like the idea of sharing feelings and social, emotional concepts.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Orlando, and thank you for the question. Yeah, so basically, I mean, yes, it's super important. I think that the top priority, one of the top priorities that we saw in the social emotional area, is to actually provide the students with opportunities to express themselves. And this is a very important area in mindfulness. So we need to actually provide learners with opportunities to express emotions, feelings. Even sometimes, I mean, what people are now doing, especially with kids, is that after every single activity, they are asking how they are feeling with that, because we need to now more than ever be aware of what is working with our students and what is not working, what is actually creating maybe higher anxiety levels or lower anxiety levels. So it's very important to give them even tools to relax. So maybe every hour in our lessons, maybe if we work with our students for 3 hours, maybe every hour, we actually stop the lesson and we help them breathe. We actually ask them to relax. We help them to maybe, simply stretch, or even allow them to have maybe a drink next to them. So thank you very much. Like, everything is part of feeling more relaxed and feeling that actually you are in the right environment. So this concept of mindfulness is now more important than ever. So we need to actually provide our students with opportunities to develop that. They might not know how to do that. So maybe in our first lessons, or maybe once a week, we should actually take maybe 20 minutes or 10 minutes, or however many minutes you have available, for you to develop these strategies and these activities for them to feel more relaxed and to stress less, yes, in our online environment.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. Taking some time to just like relax, timetabling some time to relax, and just simply trying to cope with whatever is happening, because yeah, definitely that's a great idea. Okay. So right, yeah, our friends from Cambridge are saying that yes, it could be a good idea to send learners to the park instead of like to the schoolyard. I think that's a great idea, by the way, Oscar. And I have another idea, sorry, another question from well, it's anonymous, this one, right? So the question is the pedagogy, well, you're reading the question, right? Are you, Ricardo? Yeah, right, you're reading the question. So the question is on homework. So where do you stand?
I cannot read the question. Can you read it out loud for me, Orlando? Thank you.
Yeah, the question is the pedagogical dimension.
Oh, I see it now. I
Um,
see it now, Orlando. Thank you. So
yeah, okay.
yeah, thank you very much. So in the pedagogical dimension, the was comment about homework. Many believe homework is overrated. Where do you stand about homework efficiency in regular ELT courses? Oh, that's a big question. Oh my God. It's like one of those questions
That's
that's like,
probably
okay,
for another talk.
yeah, definitely. We could say so many things about this. Yes, and nowadays I think that many people think that actually giving students homework is not actually useful because maybe they are not actually dedicating the right time to actually do it effectively. So, and they say that it's actually more efficient and more successful, yes, more productive actually to do small tasks in the classroom time, yes, that actually are going to contribute to the scaffolding and learning rather than actually giving them homework that nobody, and this is very important, especially if nobody is going to assess this and nobody is going to evaluate. Mind you, obviously the other side of this is if you think that piece of homework definitely contributes to understanding something that they will do later, yes, I think then it's relevant. But then here we come with those kind of managerial, yes, tools or roles that we have. We need to make sure that we assess and we evaluate, because I think that the fact is not that if we should or we shouldn't, but if we should actually do it, or if you actually agree to doing and delivering, giving students homework, we need to make sure that there is a point that we check it, we assess, we evaluate, and we give some feedback. And that's the most important thing. I think that sometimes, or maybe the majority of the times, we might not have the time to do all this process, especially now that we are working online. So I would say, if you ask me, but this is me, Ricardo Fajardo, I would not like to actually talk for anyone else, but I would go for maybe not providing this. I prefer a scaffolding and clear actually, delivery of the lesson, as opposed to use superficial teaching and then giving them amounts, yes, rivers, yes, of homework that nobody will benefit from. But that's me. Yes, I prefer that we actually, that's why we need to produce effective lesson plans and activities. I think that's more effective to have these 60 minutes of effective teaching, as opposed to maybe 60 minutes of very superficial teaching plus pieces of homework that maybe, I don't know, again, it depends how much this is going to be supervised. But if it's not, then it doesn't make that much sense. But that's where I stand. You might agree or disagree. Obviously, this is very open to discussion.
Yeah, and that's the point that Jose Ernesto is making a point of as well, like Leo by Leo scaffolding, rather than just sending homework to people. That's a big question though, so I guess we could maybe even talk about that in an entirely different webinar. Okay, so I think those were all the questions that I saw. So I would like to thank Ricardo. Thank you, Ricardo, for your talk. I'm pretty sure everybody enjoyed it. And remember, guys, that it's something that I think is incredibly important nowadays, thinking about what this new reality is bringing, to this, like Tarek is saying, this new era, right? And this kind of like new digital world. And that's precisely, we join efforts, with our friends from Cambridge Assessment English to give an official closure also to the digital series, the digital teacher series, right? And however, stay tuned, because we have some important announcements to give you guys. However, remember that because of this new era, right? We at International House University, we're really trying to help everybody. We're really trying to reach out to people, and we're really trying to help people just simply be the best teachers that you can be, right? Or the best version of yourselves, right? In a way, we are helping you find a way to survive the apocalypse, right? Maybe some of us have failed, over the past few months, that, we've been in a little bit of an apocalypse. And we are International House Mexico, International House University, and also, therefore, also, our Cambridge Assessment English friends, through digital teacher series, this is what we're trying to do all together, you know, trying to help you survive what to some people might be the apocalypse. It might not be an entire apocalypse, of course, as such as we know it in biblical sense, but it's definitely quite a change in relation to how learners are learning and how we teachers are going to be helping them moving forward, right? So if you were not here yesterday for our official launch of the International House University Academic Program 2020-21, this is precisely what our series of talks and international seminars is for. I'm gonna, oh, sorry, wrong. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna share my screen. Yesterday we had the official launch of our International House University Media Room. This is something that you can find on our website, the International House University Media Room. Every single university has a media room. So we thought, why shouldn't we have one when we are starting this big, amazing project, which is called the International House University. And so you can join our programs. If you go to our website, you'll see that we have such a wide range of programs. You can just click here and download the entire calendar for 2021. Or you can also click more carefully on each of these. You know, remember that we have a super amazing for our Quality Circle schools exclusive program, Coaching the Coach, specifically designed for leadership. Or for our also Quality Circle and our International House University community, we have two specific webinars series. Then the new feature is Here and Now, our academic webinars. And also with our friends from Cambridge, we have these Cambridge webinars specifically designed to help you with those educational tools that Cambridge Assessment English themselves have created specifically for you. You only have to click on more and you'll find this information here. You could just click here and it will directly take you to your registration. Do you need to enroll? Asking, Denise is asking, yes, you need to enroll. And remember, we only have so many places. So I would definitely encourage you to enroll ASAP because these webinars are quite sought after. Okay. If you want to subscribe to our Arturo, I'm actually going to come back to the question. I was, yeah, because you're not the only person asking about that, Arturo. But if you also want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you only have to again go to Media Room, and all the way to the bottom, you go to our YouTube channel, and you'll find such interesting, amazing things happening here. As we keep, you know, working on projects, on webinars, on seminars, etc., we're going to keep adding this. As you can see, we are broadcasting live. You know, the funny guy from Surviving the Apocalypse is here. If you want to, we're also going to be adding all of those incredibly useful webinars that our friends from Cambridge Assessment English normally produce. We have an extremely interesting webinar here, actually, on CELTA. I'll be referring to that in a second. Okay, so the idea of all of this that we're doing for you guys is that you can survive the apocalypse, and together as International House University family that we are, and we hope to be part of your family, we hope that we can then together be victorious in this crisis. And remember that, like we said, a crisis is not really just that. A crisis is an opportunity for everybody to grow, to develop, and to become the better version, the best version of ourselves, right? And I would like to, before I answer your question, Arturo, I would like to, I'm going to have the pleasure of introducing formally our director of international exams. So Itzel, because she has something important to invite you to. So all the floor is yours, Itzel. we can't hear you, Itzel. Your
Goodness.
microphone. Oh, there we go. Yes, that's it. There we go.
Is that
Yes.
better?
That's better.
Thank you. Sorry for that. Well, thank you very much, Orlando, for this brief introduction. And thank you very much, Ricardo. As usual, your talk was incredibly useful and interesting. And thank you very much for everybody to be here at this time of on a Friday. I know we just want to go and enjoy the weekend, but I want to invite you, like extend this invitation. As Orlando has said, International House University has launched a series of webinars and an academic program that is covering lots of areas, lots of interesting topics that you, as part of our community, teachers, coordinators have expressed you have interest on. So please keep tuned, because next week we are going to start with the most demanded topic in the last months, which is how great Cambridge and Cambridge University Press have released so much materials, so many resources to keep our students engaged and to keep our preparations for the next certification period. So they have launched a lot of useful tips and resources, and we are going to have them with us in a special webinars for you to how to see practical tips and useful resources in the practical day-to-day classroom on how to use these tips, how to use these resources that they have launched in the last month. So keep tuned, because they are going to be very interesting, practical, and you will be able to take this advice and go and use it in your classrooms. So keep tuned. Thank you very much for being here. And well, back to you, Orlando.
Sorry, the usual, the usual old favorite. I was muted. So thank you very much, guys, and we've done this for you. And before saying officially goodbye, of course, I would like to thank our friends from Cambridge Assessment English. Thank you for also joining efforts. And Claudia, Oscar, I don't know if you have any closing words.
Yeah, honestly, Orlando, nothing much more than thank you for us. And when I say us, of course, I mean International Housing Cambridge Assessment English. It's very important to support you, our teachers, that, of course, facing this so-called new normality has been so hard and challenging. Thank you very much. Ricardo, I have already done my homework. Not only those new demanding skills, honestly, my list was this big. So thank you very much for that internal analysis that you take us through. And thank you, Orlando, Itzel, Ricardo, thank you very much. Remember, we are here for you every step of the way. Bye-bye, have a very nice weekend.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you, Cambridge. And just because somebody asked in the crowd about the licenciatura, so I'm just posting this, guys. If you have any questions on that, this program that Arturo was asking about, email us at ttmx@ihmexico.com. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, our friends from Cambridge. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Itzel. And stay well and stay tuned. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.